จะลงคะแนน
Thailand will go to the polls on March 24th.
Good evening and สวัสดีครับ Welcome to Thai PBS World.
Follow reports on election returns and in-depth analysis
ด้านไกลนะครับ
on one of Thailand's most important general elections on Thai PBS World live online starting at 5 p.m. on March 24th. Enjoy the countdown to the election with the latest news, plus views and commentary from political experts on Thai PBS World live on March 21st and March 22nd at 4 p.m. Stay updated with us online on Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. Thai PBS World, we bring Thailand to the world.
Okay, good evening and สวัสดีครับ I'm เทพชัยยอง
Yes, and Amnathai Gomonwatin, welcome to our election countdown. It's final countdown, not quite final yet.
Yeah.
We still have a few days to go for the election, which is quite significant, and our program will provide insight and view from political experts for you to understand election in Thailand.
So for 2 days running, today and tomorrow evening, starting at the same time, 4 p.m., we'll keep you updated on the latest on the election. And of course, we will take an overall look at the various aspects of the elections. We'll talk about the key players and how things are folding out. And of course, we will try to give you some kind of hints as to what the post-election scenarios will be like.
Yes.
So, and of course, on Sunday evening, this is something you don't want to miss. We're going to have a special election program that will report the latest on the election returns, and we'll try as best as we can to give you some kind of idea as to how things will unfold after the polling closes. That means we should be able to give you, after a few hours after the polling closes, the shape of things to come, the look of the incoming new administration, if we can. Kunatha, I think this is very important because we are only 3 days away from the election day, and of course, I mean, the next 2 days will be quite crucial for most parties contending in the election.
Yes.
They will be on the hustings, I mean, making last-minute appeal to the voters. And if we look back at the early voting last Sunday, I mean, the turnout was quite impressive. The turnout was as high as 86%, I mean, of the registered, I mean, early voters.
Yes.
So if that's the case, then there are reasons to believe that this coming actual voting day, this Sunday, may see a turnout as high or even higher.
Yes, it seems people are quite upbeat with early voting, especially the whole country. It's about 86.86%. But if you take a closer look in Bangkok, it's even higher, about 87.2% of early voters who try to vote in Bangkok from the registered voter of about 900,000 something, and the real figure of people who came out to vote, it's about 860,000, which is quite high, and it shows how people are quite upbeat in this upcoming election. Kun Thepchai.
All things said, I mean, the big problem is how can we predict the outcome of the election, and I think it's quite I mean, general this day that if you talk to any even seasoned politicians, I mean, political experts, I mean, they all have to confess that it's very difficult to make a prediction.
Yes.
This is probably the election that is most difficult to call because a lot of factors involved. Now, if you look back in the past, I mean, the general elections were generally, I mean, a contest between two major camps. On one side, you have the Democrat parties, the country's oldest parties that dominated the political scenes for decades. But since year 2000, around that year, the Democrats seem to have lost ground to the Pheu Thai party and its previous life, the Thai party.
Yeah, and Democrat Party never won election since 2000.
Then, yeah,
yes.
for almost 20 years.
Yes.
So, but anyway, the past 2 decades saw, I mean, the contention between these two major camps, right? But in this particular election, there are new factors, new faces, new players that make things very, very complicated.
Yes.
Now we have this new party is called Palang Pracharat Party,
yes,
which is being seen as a proxy of the military junta.
It just launched last year, Palang Pracharat
Yes,
Party.
a new party, newly launched, and
Yeah.
of course, it makes no secret of its close connection with the ruling power, especially Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha,
Yeah, he's
whom
the
they
only-
nominated as a candidate for Prime Minister.
Yes.
Palang Pracharat aside, and then there is this new force of new political parties, notably the Future Forward Party.
Yeah,
They
it
are
just
put-
launched last year as well, but it draws so much attention,
Yeah.
especially for the leader of Future Forward Party,
That's
คุณ
right.
ธนาธร จึงรุ่งเรืองกิจ who is business
Very
tycoon.
interesting because overnight Kun Thanathorn, I mean a billionaire turned politician, has become a social media phenomenon. I mean, he has a bastion of supporters among the so-called millennials, and wherever he goes this day, there would be crowds of young people wanting to have selfies with him or having his signatures. But one of Kun Thanathorn's biggest appeal is to find ways to end what he called the culture of military coup d'etat. He proposed reforms of the military, cutting back the budget. So this is an appeal that certainly has struck the right chord among many people, especially young people.
So can we say that the decision of the election this time is to choose between democracy and non-democracy as the so-called, or how should we describe it to make people outside Thailand
Yes.
understand the whole scene of the political landscape in Thailand at the moment?
It's too simplistic, I mean, to categorize the upcoming election as a contention between pro-democracy and pro-military
That would be
camps.
too simple
Too
to say so.
Too
Yes.
simplistic, I think, because I think both, I mean, on both camps, I mean, or practically every party that contests in this election certainly goes for democracy. But of course, there are different approach toward how they would run the government after the election. So basically, I think there are two sides. I mean, to make it simple, I mean, on one side you have political parties that support General Prayut Chan-o-cha, the incumbent Prime Minister, to return as Prime Minister after the election, because they believe that he is the only person who can deliver, I mean, stability for the country. And then on the other side, you have a camp of political parties that certainly don't want Kun Prayut to be around in any capacity. So they
Yes.
want a complete democracy without any role for the military.
But overall, I think it's quite beautiful in terms of contention, in terms of competition this time, because voters have more options in terms of number of political parties,
Yes.
number of candidates, and in terms of policy, it appears to be quite upbeat in terms of choices, and people can have more variety to choose,
Okay.
and that's beauty of democracy as well.
Okay. Later on, we'll talk about policies. We have an economist, a well-known economist, to discuss the policies proposed by each of the major parties and to see whether they are realistic or not, or whether there are any downsides to all this policy. But before we go to that, we would like to take you back and to have a overall look at the rules and regulation of this upcoming election, because this is where things are a little bit complicated. We are going to have general election with an electoral system that I'm sure that most Thais are not familiar with. As we mentioned, this is going to be the first general election since 2011 and since the military coup in 2014.
Yes.
No, we
First
did
time in
have-
8 years.
Yeah, 8 years since 2011 and 5 years since the coup. No, but we did have another election in 2014, if you remember, right?
Yeah.
After the Yingluck government stepped down. And the election was held, I'm sure we all remember, in the middle of one of the country's most turbulent periods. There were street protests, there were protests at the polling stations, and then the Constitutional Court subsequently, nullified the result of the election. So
Yes.
it doesn't really count as an official election anyway. But in this coming election, altogether there will be 51 million eligible voters.
This is quite high for the whole population of Thailand, 64 something. So this is quite a good number, good proportion of Thai population who can go out to vote.
Yeah, and if the turnout of the early voting last Sunday is
Yes.
of any indication, it's reasonable to believe that the turnout will be as high in this coming Sunday. And this very important. This election going to be held under the so-called mixed member proportional representation system. something that haven't been tried here before.
The first time being
The
used
first
in
time,
Thailand.
But the system that has been tried in many European countries. And this is how it works. Each voter who goes to the poll casts one vote to decide winner in the single seat constituencies based on the first past the post electoral system. That means that whichever candidate that wins the most number of votes will be declared winner in that particular constituency.
Yes. And each voter can just select one choice.
That's right. That
one
you
number.
can cast only one vote. And then the same vote that you cast will be used to calculate the number of seats for party list candidates of each party. That means that political parties that contest in this election, they have sent in candidates in the constituency, and then also have candidates on the party list. So the same vote will be used to calculate, the winners in both categories. But more importantly, also the same vote will also be used to determine who the next prime minister would be. So it's three in one.
Yes.
So you vote one vote, but that one vote will be used to determine three aspects of the election.
Yeah. For MP, for party list candidate, for party list member, and for prime minister candidate.
Yeah. Okay, and then to make things simpler, this explanation of how the vote works. The number of MPs each party receives is proportional to the number of votes it gets. The party's MPs come first from those who win their constituency seats, and any shortfall is made up from the list, so that every single vote counts. That's very important. It means that in practice, some parties may not win in any constituency at all, but they may still get seats from the party list. So that's how it works.
Yeah, that means every vote really counts and will be very crucial for how many seats each party will get from this voting. That's why we really have to take a close look at how people. And as you mentioned, Kun Thepchai, the policy of each party is quite interesting this time, especially on economic policy. And we will take a closer look later on. And shall we invite Dr. Nonarit Bisonyabut?
Okay.
Yeah. He's economist from TDRI, Thailand Development and Research Institute. He would be joining us.
Yeah. But before we go to Dr. Nonarit, let's take a look at the broad pictures of the policies, especially policies that border on being populist of many parties that have come forward. We call this, they are fighting populism with more populism. That's what the picture is all about. So political parties are trying to outdo each other in this election with costly populist policies. And it's very clear. I think this is election in which political parties have come up with a lot of policies that border on being populist and very costly as well. I'll give you a quick look at some of the populist policy that some of the major parties have put forward. For example, the Democrat Party. This is something that's the most important selling point of the party. It is so-called the child allowance to be given to each newborn baby for 8 years. And then free education up to vocational level. And then price guarantee of rubber and paddy. I think that's very important as well, because these are two areas that politicians are paying attention the most. And then you have Palang Pracharat Party. It's very contentious. It has proposed to increase the daily minimum wage from 300 baht today to 425 baht a day. And then it's also try to outdo the Democrat with their child support policy by proposing a 2,000 baht a month in child support fee. And then, of course, trying to appeal to the young voters, 5-year tax cut for fresh graduates. Phum Chai Thai.
It has its major policy, legalization of marijuana.
Yeah, it's quite interesting that to see a political party, a mid-sized one, that tried to capitalize on this issue of legalizing marijuana and also trying to appeal to city voters by proposing a 4-day work week. That means that you can work, the rest of the week after 4 days at home. And then, interestingly, the only party to talk about, the ride-hailing services. It promises to legalize Grab. It should be interesting to find out why Grab has been singled out for this. And then, of course, this is certainly being seen as very populist, reducing the VAT, the VAT, value-added tax from 7% to 5%. Because so this is another example before we go to Dr. Nonarit. Future Forward Party. Also want to compete with Democrat and Palang Pracharat in appealing to young voters. The child support allowance of 1,200 baht a month, and then also with the elderly as well, increasing the allowance for elderly from today is about 800 baht and to about to 1,800 baht. Okay, so this is some of the policies that some of the major parties have put forward.
Yes, that's major policy that Kun Thepchai have concluded and collected for Ajahn Nonarit to analyze for us. And Ajahn Nonarit is here with us. Let's welcome Dr. Nonarit Bisonyabut. He is the policy and economic policy analyst from TDRI. สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับ
Thank you for joining us. Before we go to this, to commenting on this policy, so how do you see this election from the point of view of an economist?
Yeah, so I really do like, of course, it's been a long time since we have the last election, and I think it's always nice to have many parties competing, try to set up their policy to attract the voter.
Yes.
And the key thing that I really like is that there are more variety than before. Each party has its own, like you mentioned before, right? Democratic Party playing with the child. They, if you have a newborn child, you will get more money. Thai Party attract the disability. I believe they try to have the lottery, and for elderly as well. They try to come up with the lottery, new way of attract the lottery system. The Fast Forward Party try to how to say improve the efficiency of the military spending as well. So in terms of the variety, I think it's good for the people, so that people can choose. And I also like the competition among these party as well. If one party try to support certain policy that is good, then all other party also jump up to get to the competition. And this is the promises that all of them made to the people, and that's why if they actually win the election, they need to do that. And that's why in terms of the overview, I think this is quite a very good and exciting election.
But so many giveaways, like extra allowance, giving away to mother or any family or labor worker. Any concern from your perspective as economist
Of
in
course,
terms of using the budget?
Yeah, we always talking about whether this type of policy that proposed by each party are they populist policy or are they not.
So I think it will be very costly. They will need a lot of financing.
Yep. But so as an economist, I try to think of the populist policy is not something that's always bad. I always think of the populist policy. Well, at least in the word itself, it means that the policy that people like. So it's not going to be bad.
And that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. But so
they know what people like.
Yep. But in order for that type of policy to be good academically, like for me, I think we need to look into the future, whether this type of policy need to going on forever, create more debt to the government forever, or can they somehow manage to really change people's lives?
But what's the risk of creating more debt for the government? You see that risk?
Right now the current debt to the GDP for Thailand is, I think it's about 40% something. And if we compare to other countries, we have many papers try to measure the size that what is the maximum allowance debt to GDP that could be possible. And I think the number is range about 60 to 90%.
We're still far from that.
Yes, exactly. So that's why in terms of
Maybe these
race-
politicians know the figures. That's why they have the audacity to
but
come up
I
with these
still
policies.
don't like it in that sense because this type of space is normally used to cushion when we have the crisis, like financial crisis or back in 1990s crisis. But now if we use that for this type of election, then when the crisis really do come, we don't really have things to cover that. And that's the risk that I think I should mention.
Yeah. Any particular policy that strikes you the most? That's what's your most favorite?
Oh, favorite
Any?
one, right? Well, it's so tough. I don't want to be, I don't try to single out, but let me mention each one from each party so that it will be safer. For example, for the fast forward
Future forward.
Future forward party, I think I do like the way they try to control the size of the military spending.
Okay.
I think this is one.
You agree with that? You agree with
Yep,
the
yep.
sizing of the military?
But of course, you need to make sure that we have the certain money to support the security of the national at the national level as well. But
Because the parties propose an end to conscription, right? So they have voluntary, volunteers to serve in the
that's
armed forces.
also,
Yeah.
I think that also another attractive suggestion from that party.
That will involve a lot of spending as well. You have to
Yeah.
pay the right salaries to attract
yeah.
people to volunteer, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it depends on how they design the package. And I don't think we have conduct any research on that. So it could be very, very high or it could be very, very low. It depends
But
on.
since you mentioned about the cutting back on military expenditure, right? A number of parties, when they were asked how they would finance their populist policies, they said, well, we take the money from the military to divert the money to support this policy. But you think that amount of money that the military has now enough, to finance all these populist policies?
It's tough to say exactly. I think it depends on how many people do they really want to attract to serve in the military, and also the amount of money they have to pay. So right now I don't think we have enough information to make any conclusion about that.
What's the suitable figure or proportion of defense budget to the GDP?
This is also another risk thing because I remember one of the political party came forward and said that if we compare the military spending to GDP internationally, we will see that Thailand is quite below the standard, the average at the global level. But on the other hand, I remember that different countries actually have different situation about its own national security. Some, like in the US, they have military spending because they profit from the research and development in that spending. But for Thailand, we are more of a technology receiver.
Yep.
We buy everything new, and every time something new came up, we need to buy it again. So I think it's so tough to say. But to be honest, I think I have seen many incidents, right? Like the post one, like GT200 case, where I think there are many room to improve about the efficiency, especially in terms of the procurement.
Yeah.
No, it's quite positive that these politicians do raise the question of efficiency in spending the budget.
Exactly.
Right? You mentioned about the financing of these populist policies. Of course, it will be really costly. But I believe that none of the political party has yet to come up with a convincing ways to finance these policies.
Yep.
So but you have listened to their arguments, right? So do you think, is there any parties that really have a good reason to convince that they know how to finance these policies?
To be honest with you, I think the top part, I think some of the party may have some sense of what need to be done in order to raise the money. But you need to understand that raising the money is not as attractive, right? Because you will take away money either from people or from the business. And in that sense, you will not get votes. But I think some of the people have some sense. I have heard some try to push the land tax, and I think the land tax I think already been passed, but maybe some of the revision can be done, and also the inheritance tax is also another big thing. But other than that, I don't think I've heard any other policy that should be done, but haven't been discussed much.
I just want to tell audience that you are watching Thai PBS World and we keep you updated on inside of election, and we have Dr. Nonarit from TDRI with us to analyze policy of each political party. I'm just wondering, with Thailand, the government or the direction of the country is trying to get out of higher income, middle income trap.
Yep.
Any particular policy that you like to suggest for political parties, or are they overall in the right direction to pull out the country out of that trap?
So first of all, I think I have some offset of the policy that should be done, but I think it's the job of the political party to try to come up with their own, because they need to attract the voter. But I haven't seen much actually in many parties who try to address this type of issues. Some of parties are more towards the social increased spending, but none seem to push straight their policy on growth. But I mean, I think this is something that need to be addressed as well. And well, we have just a couple of days, but interestingly, I haven't heard much actually on this.
Yes, but we heard some policy from some parties to be updated with technology change disruption. How do you think of that? What's the direction that each party should be thinking of?
Oh, okay. So let me first mention that I've heard many of the technology advancement policy that they try to come up with. They are more seem to be very broad and not very specific enough to make any comment. But I think for Thailand, for example, at least we need to leverage on what have been done in the past. Like for example, the EEC area, which is one of the special economic zone that needs to be pushed. I think regardless of which party win the election, they should try to get that things going on forward more.
Yeah.
You study and taught sometimes in the US, right? You also must be familiar with how the system there works. And I think American politicians also play on the issue of populist policy as well, right? For example, in the last presidential election or the upcoming one, the issue for example, the minimum wage, social security also, always on top of their agenda. So what is the difference between Thai populist policy and American populist policies?
Well, of course, if you look at the U.S., you will see that their party are more of the representative party. They have like Democrat Party who have the similar political ideological view on that, and you have Republican Party who also have quite similar area of thought, I think. But for Thailand, we have like you see before. I haven't seen any type of representative on that. I mean, everyone kind of seem to throw away all kinds of policy to attract all kinds of people. And in that sense, this is quite different, and that's why I don't think you have kind of. I mean, it's not going to be fair for me to say that, but I think they should look into people more closely. They need to do some research before making policy. Like for example, you mentioned the minimum wage policy. Like one of the party tried to come up with raising the minimum wage policy to 425, and right now it's at like 230. So it's like 20-something% increase, and in that sense, it will affect a lot of people. It's not only just people, because some people will be kicked off, will be laid off from work. But also for the SME as well, because the SME, they employ many people, and they don't have enough margin to cover that increase. And this kind of thing, that's why
But the party seems to have stepped back from the proposal now. They said it's not going to be a one-time increase, but it's going to be gradual over the next few years.
But on the positive side, that's why, because like I mentioned before, each of the policy seem to be broadly defined in terms of what I think it is. That's why they have room to manage. Like for example, when they say that they will increase the minimum wage policy to 425, they can say, okay, it will be in 3 to 4 years, and then this is the breathing room for the economy.
That would make more sense.
Yeah, exactly.
In terms of welfare, many parties also emphasize on giving extension of the loans or even canceling the loans, educational loan. What's the how do you think the possibility of pursuing this policy?
The possibility, well, because the winner will have the power, right, to make change to the policy. But I think the key issue would be, is that a good or bad policy? Is that a bad populist policy or good populist policy? For me, I don't think throw away the loan or like debt moratorium is not going to be a good thing. I think people who actually borrow the money need to pay it back. This is like the fundamental things that need to be keep. If you kind of let them go on and go on, and they can, then it's not going to be good. At least in the long term, you have people with bad habits. You will also teach the next generation that this is the right way to do. So I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah, that's very crucial. Also on welfare, like to give away or having allowance for mother who just gave birth and to have benefit from birth until 18 years old and giving free education as well. Does that pull in the right direction? How good or bad of this kind of policy?
I really like this type of policy. For one, we need to understand that Thailand is one of the countries that has a very high level of inequality. And deep research shows that this type of inequality actually happen at birth. It starts when you were born. I mean, poor family cannot take care of the children, and that's why they will have less time on school and so on. And that's why this type of policy is quite good actually. So that's why actually this type of policy, I think it comes from the work of the TDRI. Well, this is advertisement.
You have to credit TDRI for that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this type of policy kind of work in many other countries. So this is one of the things that
because childhood is the most crucial period of one's life, right? You mentioned at the beginning that populist policies are not always bad, right? But when you think populist policy can start going bad, when?
Well,
at what point? At which point do you think that it can go bad?
So for me, it depends on how people who get the money perceive about this type of policy. If they use that type of money to change their own life, then it's probably be okay. I cannot remember the party, but one or two of the party kind of try to suggest the price floor for some of the product, the price guarantee. Right? This type of policy can be good if the farmer actually the farmer can actually use that money to improve their own technology, to repay their debt and so on. But if they kind of perceive that this type of policy will come forever in every election, then that is the point that the policy.
It's free money. We can use it in whichever way we want to. That would be bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Overall, Thailand is the second largest economy in ASEAN, and this year Thailand is also chairman of ASEAN. What do you think the new government should be prepared in terms of taking this important role and to pursue Thailand, to maintain Thailand in the role of ASEAN Economic Community of AEC? That must be quite challenging, but we cannot see obvious policy from each major political parties.
Yeah, I think that's also a very good point. I mean, I haven't seen any party who mentioned that kind of role too. And for me, because as you kind of probably know that Thailand is an aged society, we have less and less labor. We have, and our economy soon will be probably be slowing down furthermore. And this is because we just have less people. And in order to grow further, we need to attract or we need to somehow invest in the ASEAN because they're really close to us. They also have many young workers who can come, but we need somehow to build relationship with their government because there are many things that need to be done together with them.
In terms of workers, it means that we are approaching aging society. We won't have enough labor or good skilled labor to work in Thailand. Does it mean that we have to open up policy of drawing foreign worker, foreign labor, professional laborers? What would you reckon?
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, we need both two level. I mean, for both skill level and unskilled level, I think we need both. And to be honest, I think many have flooded into our countries right now, but we need to somehow find a way to manage them to stay longer. I mean, for example, I think the key issue right now is about the exploitation of the migrant workers. Some are undocumented. The migrant worker in the fishery somehow has been solved.
That has to be changed.
But more than that, I think that they are kind of like the social security that should be put to their use as well in order to make them stay longer.
All right. Okay. So joining us on the line, Gunata.
ค่ะ คุณปริน พานิชพัก also is with us on the line คุณปริน is governor of the stock exchange of Thailand สวัสดีค่ะคุณปริน
ครับสวัสดีครับ
Hello
Can you hear
สัญ
us?
ญาณครับนะครับสัญญาณในฝั่งโน้นไม่ค่อยชัด
Our signal isn't good so
Okay.
let's our team reconnect with you
The signal is very bad. The signal is breaking up from your side.
Okay, we'll try to call you back and have a better connection.
so let our team contact you again
So you are watching the special program of Thai PBS on the election 2019. As you mentioned from the very start that this is going to be a very important, very crucial election because the first election in 8 years and it takes place as Thailand begins a transition to hopefully a full democracy. So a lot of issues are confronting us and hopefully politicians that are contending in this election will be able to come up with something practical and workable so that not only the issue of democracy but the issue of social livelihood growth economic growth and everything else that have to do with people's livelihood will be improved.
I think in terms of labor market we need to take a close look of the health of Thailand's economy because we are approaching technology disruption. AI is coming and it replacing workers in factory.
Robotic technology.
Yes, but on the other hand, we are aging society as well. Not enough reproduction to replace worker. With this perspective, what should the government be aware of the situation that Thailand is facing?
Well, I think there are two like the two kind of level that the government needs to be concerned. One is the kind of like on the top that the robotic technology can come and actually replace worker, but we also have many areas that the robot cannot do, right? Like the human touch, the nursing and other stuff that require human attention. So in that sense, the policy need to address how to attract, how to incentivize firms to use more robot. At the same time, how to kind of tailor people to serve the area that the robot cannot be replace the human.
Does it mean the overall chain of structure of Thai economy to be focusing more on service-based economy or service sector?
I think so too. This is not going to be easy because right now robot can do a lot of things and they
can replace human in many areas.
They don't need to sleep. They don't need to have a union. They don't.
All right. I
So
think
that will be a big
the
challenge.
connection with Kun Prinn is
Okay,
ready.
let's connect with Kun Prinn again. Kun Prinn, are you with us? Kun Prinn, can you hear me?
I can hear you but there's a signal that's แทรกมีสัญญาณแทรกเยอะมากเลยครับ
it seems
Okay.
คุณ Prinn is not
แต่ว่าแทรกเยอะมาก
ค่ะ
แรงๆแทรกมา
okay it seems
We'll try again anyway. So
Ha.
we can let's see whether we can get a better
Yeah.
connection. So we are talking about the future technology, which I think is an issue that probably none of the political parties has really seriously touched on, right?
Yeah.
But that's this way something very crucial for the future. So how do you see? I mean that we can push these research development in this particular area in the new government.
Well, I mean, because I'm an economist, I always support this type of policy. But as we mentioned before, because none of the party actually has some say on this, which also mean that their political agenda is not on this issue, and that's quite alarming. Right? Like we kind of have been discussed so far, no economic growth, no field technology, like no things to no mention about the robot technology, AI and other stuff, and that seems to be very concerning. Like we are straight more on the hate tax, on the social security, on the minimum wage.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe because the concentration of politicians in this election is on how to win votes.
Yep.
And if you listen to all these politicians, they will say that what they are proposing reflect the needs and what the people want. Because if you go anywhere in the markets or on the streets and you ask people what they want the government to do, the next government to do, the first thing they would say that the better, livelihood, economic, growth, something like that. They would not talk about it.
That's understandable, but on the other side, the political party should somehow try to manage the policy in such a way that create a sustainable
Yeah, they will
development
look forward,
for the country.
look into the
they are
future.
Not like then it's not going to be like they are representative of the need of the people, and that is what you mentioned. But they also need to somehow consult with the academic and business to make sure that that all of the policy are not tailored to serve only people. If business cannot survive, then people cannot survive as well.
In terms of economic situation in Thailand, people around the world must be surprised because the continuity of politics in Thailand is not that stable. Many coups, perhaps one of the most often coup that happen in Thailand. But people are quite puzzled with how Thailand can be very stable in terms of keeping economic engine and still keeping the pace of economic growth. Does it surprise you as the economist?
Well, of course, at school, everyone in the US, I studied in the US, and they always taught that political stability is the key to make a sustainable growth. And we also Thailand also experienced some sort of political turmoil, but we still have a very quite nice growth. And so, of course, it's puzzling. But at the same time, I think the key things that Thailand gets is that we have a very good location. We are in the center of the CLMV countries, and they are growing very, very fast. Vietnam, Cambodia, and in that sense, it will be. It's not about political stability anymore. It's about how each party can actually leverage the benefit from the FDI toward the people. I think that's the key.
Yeah, but Thailand shouldn't overestimate the advantage of our location.
Yep, exactly. Because right now, as the technology improves, the location become meaningless. Because right now, I remember one time, I just read the news that the doctor in China can make an operation like 3,000 kilometers away.
Yeah.
Because he used the technology. So right now, location is not that big of a deal.
The opponents of the current governments keep saying that the past 5 years have been a big failure on the part of the Prayut government. None of the policy has worked. People are worse off getting poorer. So to be fair to the present government, you see any positive achievements on its part at all?
So what I like about this Pacharat party is that his card, his welfare card, I think is one of the pioneer thing that should be done much longer before that, because I don't know. We always think like in terms of like uniform, we already have a uniform thought. Like when we see the farmer, we always think that they are poor farmers, but in fact, it's not like that. I mean, farmer has all types. Some probably have more income than us if they have a very big farm, and some actually do. They are poor, but so this type of card actually can kind of separate people who really need help from people who don't need help, and that is one of the policies that I like. The second thing that I also like is the EEC program.
Okay.
And as I mentioned before, I think none of the parties seem to stress enough, and I think it's important whether we try to redistribute to how many people, we need to get more money. And one simple way, right, the hard way is to get money from actually people and firms inside Thailand. But the better way is to create bigger cake. If we attract people from outside, then this type of money can be spread in any way that you like.
So there are positive achievements that we
Of
should
course.
give credit to the
Yeah,
present
that's
government.
why all of the party kind of have their own special things that I do like.
And what about national strategy, 20-year national strategy? Do you see it as strength or what should be adjusted?
Well, I mean, in terms of that 20-year plan, it's always good to have a plan in the future. But at the same time, because of the political situation in Thailand, this type of plan can also be made as a tool in the political war. And that thing that I don't really like. But if you have certain guidelines, like Thailand needs to do this, do that, and kind of go into that direction, but not how, and let the political party fight over how we will achieve that, then I think that's a good thing. But from the draft that I have read, I think some of it are very questionable. And the 20 years is very, very long time. Maybe the situation changed. How can the new party who got election can actually move, itself from that constraint?
So
I think that's the big question.
I think the issue with the 20-year national strategy probably has less to do with the contents of strategy, but the mechanisms governing it. I mean, mechanism that would make
put a constraint
on
many
the
type of policy.
incoming administration. I think that's the more of the issue with those who argue against it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think so.
On behalf of economists, I mean individual economists, from your view, what do you prefer to see in the first 3 months in terms of economic policy from the new government?
Wow, that's a very tough question.
You can try.
Well, I mean, I think the first month, the role of the government is to lay out their plan for the next 4 years. Like if I remember correctly, they need to specifically promise all of the people that what they are planning to do. And I don't think 2 months is too soon. But let me try to rephrase your question to be more in a more meaningful ways. I think if somehow the new government can actually push the growth issue first, I would be very happy. For one, because I think we have enough of the social security type of policy going on, and if they can continue some of the old policy, that is okay. Like I mentioned, the EEC project.
Yes.
Because one of the things that I think troubles me in the past is that every time that new government comes, they kill off the old party's policy.
No matter how good they are.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they need to try to find the policy that still work, and then continue doing that.
Have to be selective. And where does the growth coming from? Investment, more public spending, more spending among people?
I think all, actually. For example, we have high-speed train project. I'm not sure how far they have been constructed right now. And also, but I mean, this is just one funny example, but I mean, in all types of investment can be done. Like I mentioned before, right now, our public debt to GDP is quite low, and I always in support of the public spending in terms of investment, but not in terms of spending.
Okay, final questions. I'm sure out there are still a lot of people who still haven't decided whom or which party to vote for. As an economist, can you help them with their decision by sort of giving them a picture as to the parties that you think deserve to be voted in based on policies? Not
Okay.
you have to mention names, but
Okay. So I think the most important thing to think about is that there are always short-term benefit and long-term benefit, and also there are always your own benefit and country's benefit. I think you need to kind of actually look into each policy that are proposed by each party and decide the good balance. Which one good for you, also good for the country.
Okay.
Good in the short term, also good in the long term. I think if you have that answer, then that's the party that you should be choose.
So many factors to be considered for
Yeah.
this election. And Kun Thepchai, do you like to describe changing character of Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha?
No, it's very obvious that Kun Prayut Chan-o-cha, the Prime Minister, has been trying very hard to reinvent himself.
Yeah.
Rebrand
himself. I think he's acting more and more like a politician now. Different from what he was. A few months back when he was still a stern-faced, former general. And very tough with people that he didn't like. But these days, he seems to be more friendly but you think Kun Prayut himself, as a government leader, have a good grasp of policies?
Well, I mean, of course, he is a smart guy, but also what I kind of sense that the trouble comes that he's head of every policy, and I think human brain has a very limited capacity. if you look into every area, regardless of how smart you are, you will be exhausted, and I think that's one of the things that also explain why sometimes he has temper.
Yeah, but
Okay.
we can see his character as politician coming up quite recently. And tomorrow we have to take a look. It would be last major rally for every party. พลังประชารัฐ Democrat เพื่อไทยอนาคตใหม่ and also ภูมิใจไทย they will have the last major rally.
Okay.
And that will be interesting to see what's the message, the last words from each party.
All right. So tomorrow at 4 p.m. we'll come back with
Yeah.
the final analysis on what things are going to be like. But 1 day, 2 days ahead of the poll. Of course, it will be interesting because we should know tomorrow as to what the projections of the election result would be. Of course, we won't have any exact answer as to what will happen, but we should have a clear picture as to how things will turn out on election day.
Have you already voted or
No,
would be on
actually,
this Sunday?
Yeah, this Sunday.
Okay.
Of course, you have decided.
Okay, so we'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you for watching, and you can help us by sharing our live on Facebook. Thank you very much, Dr. Nonarit, for
ขอบคุณครับ
joining us.
ขอบคุณครับ
ขอบคุณค่ะ
Thank you for watching. We see you tomorrow evening at 4 p.m. then.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Bye. สวัสดีค่ะ
ผู้มีสิทธิ์ซึ่งประสงค์จะลงคะแนน
Thailand will go to the polls on March 24th.
Good evening and Sawadee Krab. Welcome to Thai PBS World.
Follow reports on election returns and in-depth analysis
ด้านไกลนะครับ
on one of Thailand's most important general elections on Thai PBS World live online starting at 5 p.m. on March 24th. Enjoy the countdown to the election with the latest news, plus views and commentary from political experts on Thai PBS World live on March 21st and March 22nd at 4 p.m. Stay updated with us online on Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. Thai PBS World, we bring Thailand to the world.